Welcome back to our channel, Coin Lovers. Today, we're taking a closer look at 4 fascinating US quarter-dollar coins that could be much more interesting than they first appear. From unusual mint marks and varieties to condition, rarity, and collector demand, each coin has its own story to tell. So stay with us until the end, because you might discover a quarter that deserves a much closer look. Let's get started and explore these 4 quarter-dollar coins. First up, the 1991 D Washington quarter dollar is a fascinating chapter in modern American coinage, captivating enthusiasts with its familiar design, Denver mint origin, and potential for premium value when found in exceptional condition. Although millions of examples were produced for everyday commerce, the coin can become considerably more interesting when collectors encounter sharply struck, lustrous, high-grade specimens or unusual mint errors. Carrying the D mint mark, this quarter was struck at the Denver Mint and represents an important part of the Washington Quarter series that began in 1932. For collectors, its appeal comes from the combination of American history, recognizable artwork, condition rarity, and the challenge of separating an ordinary circulated example from a truly exceptional specimen. A 1991 D quarter may look familiar at first glance, but careful examination can reveal why condition and certification matter so much in modern numismatics. The historical story of the 1991 D Washington Quarter belongs to the continuing legacy of the Washington Quarter series. The denomination was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and the design continued as a major component of United States coinage decades later. By 1991, the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of quarters to satisfy the needs of a modern economy, with the Denver facility striking coins identified by the small D mint mark. The 1991 D issue, therefore, provides a tangible connection to a much longer tradition of American monetary history. It was not created as a special commemorative issue, but rather as a regular circulating quarter, making its survival in extraordinary condition particularly interesting to collectors today. The coin represents an era when traditional American coin designs were still appearing in daily commerce, while the nation was moving toward an increasingly modern collecting environment. One of the most recognizable aspects of the 1991 D Washington Quarter is its classic design. On the obverse, George Washington's portrait faces left, surrounded by inscriptions identifying the United States, the denomination, and the national motto. The reverse features the famous eagle with outstretched wings, positioned above a bundle of arrows and surrounded by olive branches. The design was originally created by John Flanagan, whose Washington portrait became one of the most enduring images in American coinage. The 1991 D quarter is composed of the copper-nickel-clad material used for regular quarters of this period, with a copper core visible along the edge. It has a diameter of approximately 24.3 millimeters and a standard weight of about 5.67 grams. The small D beneath the portrait identifies Denver production and is one of the first details collectors should examine when determining exactly which issue they have. What makes the 1991 D quarter especially interesting is the relationship between mintage and condition rarity. The existence of a large production run means that ordinary circulated examples are generally not considered rare simply because they carry the 1991 date and D mint mark. However, the situation changes when condition becomes the focus. Many quarters released into circulation quickly developed scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, rim damage, and other imperfections. Finding an example with strong luster, clean fields, attractive surfaces, and an exceptionally sharp strike can be much more challenging. This distinction between common in circulation and scarce in top grades is fundamental to modern coin collecting. Consequently, collectors seeking the finest examples may compete strongly for certified coins that receive very high grades from established grading services. Condition is therefore one of the most important factors when evaluating a 1991 D Washington Quarter. A heavily circulated coin with noticeable wear will generally have little premium beyond its face value, while an attractive uncirculated example can command more collector interest. At the highest certified grades, even relatively common modern coins can become condition rarities because very few pieces survive with nearly flawless surfaces. Collectors should pay close attention to the fields around Washington's portrait, the lettering, the eagle on the reverse, and the high points of the design. A coin displaying original mint luster and minimal contact marks is far more desirable than one that has been cleaned or heavily scratched. For serious collectors, professional certification can provide an important benchmark because the difference between a good uncirculated coin and an exceptional gem can have a significant effect on market value. When it comes to market value, the 1991 Washington quarter should be approached realistically. Most circulated examples are worth approximately their face value, while ordinary uncirculated pieces may bring only a modest premium depending on their quality and the buyer's interest. Attractive certified examples in higher grades can potentially sell for tens of dollars, while exceptionally high-grade coins with strong eye appeal can reach hundreds of dollars when collector demand is strong. Truly outstanding top population examples, meaning coins graded at a level achieved by very few other specimens, can sometimes bring substantially more at auction. However, values are highly dependent on certification, grade, population reports, strike quality, eye appeal, and actual market demand. A claimed value of hundreds or thousands of dollars should therefore never be assumed merely because a coin is dated 1991 and carries a D mint mark. Varieties and mint errors can make the 1991 D issue considerably more exciting. Collectors should carefully inspect examples for recognized die varieties, doubled design elements, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, missing or unusual design details, and other genuine mint-made errors. It is important, however, to distinguish authentic errors from damage that occurred after the coin left the mint. Machine doubling, scratches, flattening, environmental damage, and alterations can sometimes look unusual to inexperienced collectors, but may have little or no additional value. Because legitimate major errors can be scarce, authentication becomes especially important when an apparently unusual 1991 D quarter is discovered. A professional grading service or knowledgeable numismatist can help determine whether an unusual feature represents a genuine mint error or simply post-mint damage. For collectors searching for a valuable 1991 D Washington quarter, examination should begin with the basics. Confirm the 1991 date and D mint mark, then evaluate the coin's overall condition under good lighting. Look for original luster, strong details, clean surfaces, and unusual characteristics that appear to have originated during the minting process. Avoid polishing or cleaning the coin, because improper cleaning can permanently damage its surfaces and reduce its desirability. If the coin appears exceptionally sharp or contains a potentially significant error, professional certification may be worthwhile before making a valuation decision. Collectors should also compare auction records and certified population information rather than relying on sensational online claims about enormous values for ordinary examples. Proper preservation is another important part of building a valuable collection. A promising 1991 D quarter should ideally be stored in a non-reactive protective holder that minimizes exposure to moisture, contaminants, and unnecessary contact. Handling the coin by its edges helps protect the surfaces from fingerprints and accidental scratches. Collectors can also benefit from studying reputable numismatic references, following established auction houses, and communicating with experienced collecting communities. These resources can provide valuable information about grading standards, varieties, certified populations, and changing market demand. Most importantly, collectors should remember that value is determined by the actual characteristics of the individual coin, not simply by its date, mint mark, or an attention-grabbing internet claim. Ultimately, the 1991 D Washington quarter dollar is an excellent example of how an ordinary piece of American pocket change can become a fascinating object of numismatic study. Its connection to the long-running Washington quarter tradition, classic George Washington and Eagle designs, Denver D mint mark, and potential scarcity in exceptional grades give it genuine collector appeal. While most circulated examples are not rare or extremely valuable, pristine certified specimens and legitimate mint errors can be much more desirable and may command meaningful premiums. For enthusiasts, the real excitement lies in learning how to recognize the difference between a common coin and an exceptional one. The 1991 D. Washington quarter remains a tangible connection to the past, blending American history, artistry, minting technology, and the thrill of discovery into one familiar 25-cent coin. Next up, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark is a fascinating chapter in American numismatics and a coin that continues to captivate enthusiasts because of its connection to one of the most unusual periods in modern U.S. coinage. Although millions were produced, this quarter is far more interesting than its ordinary appearance might suggest. Struck during a period when the United States Mint was dealing with a serious nationwide coin shortage, the 1967 issue belongs to the special era when traditional mint marks were deliberately removed from U.S. coins. For collectors, this creates an immediate historical attraction. The absence of a mint mark is not necessarily an error, but an intentional feature of the issue. Its 90% silver composition also gives it importance beyond its face value, making the 1967 quarter a tangible connection to America's changing monetary system. Today, collectors appreciate examples that combine strong original surfaces, attractive silver coloration, sharp details, and excellent preservation, while particularly impressive certified specimens can command substantially more than ordinary circulated pieces. The historical background of the 1967 Washington quarter makes it especially compelling. The United States was experiencing a major coin shortage during the mid-1960s, caused by increased demand for circulating coins, changes in consumer spending, and growing interest in removing silver from circulating coinage. Congress had authorized the Coinage Act of 1965, which dramatically changed the composition of U.S. dimes and quarters. Even though quarters dated 1965 through 1967 continued to contain silver, they were produced under a new system designed to discourage speculation and hoarding. One of the most distinctive measures was the removal of mint marks from coins dated 1965, 1966, and 1967. Therefore, a 1967 quarter without a mint mark is exactly what collectors should expect from a normal Philadelphia or Denver production coin of that era, rather than automatically assuming that the missing letter represents a rare minting mistake. This policy transformed the appearance of American coinage and makes the 1967 quarter an especially interesting artifact from a turbulent period in U.S. monetary history. The artistic design of the 1967 Washington quarter remains instantly recognizable and connects the coin to the legacy of President George Washington. On the obverse, Washington's portrait faces left, based on the famous bust created by sculptor John Flanagan, with the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1967 surrounding the portrait. The reverse presents a majestic American eagle with outstretched wings, surrounded by United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, quarter dollar, and the traditional arrangement of stars. The coin measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter and weighs about 5.67 grams, with a reeded edge. Most importantly, the 1967 quarter is composed of the special 40% silver alloy used for U.S. quarters during the 1965-1967 period, rather than the 90% silver composition used for earlier Washington quarters. This composition, combined with the classic Washington and Eagle artwork, gives the coin a distinctive place between America's traditional silver coinage and the modern clad era. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the 1967 Washington quarter is its missing mint mark. Collectors sometimes encounter claims that every 1967 quarter without a mint mark must be a rare Philadelphia issue, but the reality is more complicated. During this special 3-year period, The US Mint intentionally removed mint marks from circulating coins to make it more difficult for collectors and the public to identify production facilities and hoard coins based on mint origin. The 1967 quarter, therefore, does not carry the familiar P, D, or S designation that collectors normally use to identify minting locations. Both Philadelphia and Denver produced coins under this no-mint mark system. This intentional omission is one of the defining characteristics of the issue and is an excellent reminder that a missing mint mark can sometimes be a deliberate part of a coin's history rather than an error. Collectors interested in the series should therefore examine the entire coin instead of treating the absent mint mark alone as evidence of extraordinary rarity. When it comes to rarity and condition, the 1967 Washington quarter offers an interesting contrast. The issue had a very large production, so an ordinary circulated example is not considered extremely rare. However, finding coins with exceptional preservation can be much more challenging. Years of circulation exposed countless examples to scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, cleaning, and general wear, while silver-containing coins were also frequently removed from circulation by the public. For this reason, truly attractive uncirculated examples can become much more desirable than worn pieces. Collectors should pay particular attention to the strength of Washington's hair and facial details, the eagle's feathers on the reverse, the condition of the fields, and the originality of the surfaces. Coins displaying strong luster, minimal contact marks, pleasing eye appeal, and clean original surfaces can stand apart from ordinary examples. Certified high-grade pieces are especially interesting because small differences in preservation can create significant differences in collector demand. The market value of a 1967 Washington quarter depends heavily on condition, certification, eye appeal, and whether the coin possesses a genuinely recognized era or unusual variety. Most circulated 1967 quarters are generally worth only modest amounts above their face value, with their silver content providing an important baseline for their value. Attractive circulated examples may commonly trade in the neighborhood of a few dollars, while better preserved uncirculated coins can bring noticeably higher premiums. Depending on grade and market conditions, desirable mint state examples might range from roughly $10 to $50 or more, while exceptional certified specimens at very high grades can reach hundreds of dollars, and in particularly competitive circumstances, substantially more. These higher prices should not be confused with ordinary examples, however. A normal circulated 1967 quarter is not automatically a $100, $1,000, or $1 million coin simply because it has no mint mark. Serious collectors rely on condition, certification, documented varieties, and actual market evidence when determining value. Another fascinating area is the possibility of minting errors and unusual varieties. While the normal no-mint mark characteristic should not be mistaken for an error, genuine production mistakes can attract considerable attention when they are authenticated. Collectors may examine a 1967 quarter for features such as double design elements, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, striking abnormalities, or other legitimate mint errors. However, distinguishing a genuine mint-made variety from damage caused after the coin entered circulation requires careful examination. Many apparent doubling features on circulated coins can actually result from machine doubling, wear, scratches, or post-mint damage. This is why collectors should be cautious about dramatic claims found online and should consider professional attribution or certification for an unusual specimen. A verified major error can transform an otherwise ordinary coin into a much more desirable numismatic piece, but the error must be genuine and significant before assigning a substantial premium. For collectors searching for a valuable 1967 Washington quarter, condition should be one of the first priorities. Rather than collecting every example based solely on the date, enthusiasts can build a stronger collection by looking for pieces with attractive natural surfaces and strong strikes. Uncirculated examples should be examined under good lighting for hairlines, scratches, discoloration, and signs of cleaning. Because silver coins can develop attractive toning over time, Natural coloration can sometimes add visual appeal, while harsh cleaning can seriously reduce collector interest. If a particularly impressive specimen is found, professional grading from a respected third-party grading service can provide authentication and an independent assessment of condition. Collectors should also compare auction records and established dealer offerings before making expensive purchases. Proper storage in an inert protective holder, away from moisture and harsh chemicals, is essential, and unnecessary handling should be avoided because fingerprints and surface contact can permanently affect the coin's appearance. The collecting appeal of the 1967 quarter ultimately comes from much more than its potential monetary value. It represents a fascinating transition in American coinage, connecting the traditional silver Washington quarter era with the beginning of the modern clad coin system. Its no-mint mark appearance tells a story about the government's response to a nationwide coin shortage, while its silver composition reflects a major transformation in the way Americans produced and used everyday money. For collectors who enjoy historical context, the coin offers an opportunity to study the economic pressures and policy decisions of the 1960s through a small object that once passed through ordinary American commerce. For collectors who appreciate design, the Washington portrait and American eagle provide timeless visual appeal. And for treasure hunters, the possibility of finding an unusually well-preserved example or a legitimate mint era adds an element of excitement every time an old 1967 quarter is examined. In conclusion, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark deserves its place as a memorable and historically important collectible from one of the most distinctive periods in American coinage. Its missing mint mark is intentional, its silver composition separates it from today's ordinary quarters, and its production during the U.S. coin shortage gives it a compelling historical story. While most examples are not extraordinarily rare or worth enormous sums, high-grade specimens, attractive uncirculated coins, and authenticated major eras can become considerably more desirable in the collector market. This combination of history, artistry, precious metal content, and potential rarity is what continues to captivate enthusiasts. For anyone building a Washington quarter collection, the 1967 issue is a prized treasure and a tangible connection to the past. A coin that demonstrates how even an ordinary-looking piece of pocket change can preserve an extraordinary chapter of American history. Its lasting appeal ensures that the 1967 Washington quarter will continue to attract numismatists and collectors for generations to come. Next up, the 1988 Washington quarter dollar with the P mint mark is a fascinating piece of modern American coinage that continues to captivate enthusiasts who appreciate the history, craftsmanship, and collecting possibilities hidden within everyday currency. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this quarter belongs to the classic Washington quarter series that has remained one of the most recognizable denominations in the United States for generations. Although the 1988 issue is not considered a rare coin in ordinary circulated condition, its historical connection to the late 1980s, its distinctive Philadelphia Mint identity, and the challenge of locating exceptionally preserved examples make it an interesting addition to a serious collection. Collectors are especially attracted to sharply struck specimens with brilliant original surfaces, minimal contact marks, and strong overall eye appeal. The coin is therefore best understood not as a guaranteed fortune in pocket change, but as a fascinating collectible whose value can increase significantly when exceptional condition or a legitimate mint era enters the picture. The historical setting surrounding the 1988 P Washington quarter gives this coin additional character. The United States was approaching the end of a decade marked by major technological development, changing popular culture, economic transformation, and important events on the international stage. During this period, the Washington quarter was already a familiar part of everyday American commerce, used for purchases, vending machines, transportation, and countless ordinary transactions. The coin continued the long-running Washington quarter tradition established in 1932 to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. By 1988, the design had become deeply established in American life, making the quarter a tangible connection between the nation's earlier history and the modern United States of the late 20th century. The P Mint mark identifies Philadelphia production, giving collectors a useful way to distinguish this issue from quarters struck at other facilities during the same year. One of the strongest attractions of the 1988 P quarter is its classic design. The obverse features George Washington's portrait facing left, based on the historic design originally prepared by sculptor John Flanagan. Around Washington appear the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1988, creating the familiar appearance that collectors instantly associate with the Washington Quarter series. The reverse displays a powerful American eagle with outstretched wings, surrounded by United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. The coin measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter and weighs approximately 5.67 grams. Unlike the silver quarters of earlier decades, the 1988 P issue is composed of the modern copper-nickel clad composition over a copper core. Its reeded edge provides another traditional feature, while the combination of Washington's portrait and the eagle gives the coin a distinctly patriotic appearance that remains visually appealing in high-grade examples. The P Mint mark is one of the most important identifying features for collectors examining this particular issue. On the 1988 Washington Quarter, the small letter P appears on the obverse, near the lower area of the design by Washington's neckline. Philadelphia had resumed using the P Mint mark on circulating U.S. coins in 1980, so its presence on the 1988 quarter is completely normal and confirms its Philadelphia origin. This detail is particularly useful when assembling a date and mint mark collection of Washington quarters. Collectors should be careful not to confuse the absence, weakness, or damage of a mint mark with a rare variety. A normal 1988 P quarter is not automatically valuable simply because the P appears unusually small or faint. Genuine varieties and mint errors require careful examination, and when significant money is involved, professional authentication. For enthusiasts, however, the mint mark itself remains an important part of the coin's identity and historical story. When discussing rarity and condition, the 1988 P Washington Quarter presents an interesting situation. The issue was produced in large quantities for circulation, meaning that ordinary circulated examples are generally readily available and are not considered rare. The real challenge begins when collectors search for coins with exceptional preservation. Decades of circulation have left many examples covered with contact marks, scratches, dull surfaces, stains, or other imperfections. An original uncirculated specimen with strong luster and minimal distractions can therefore be much more attractive than a typical worn quarter. Collectors examining high-grade examples should carefully inspect Washington's cheek and hair, the open fields around the portrait, and the eagle and lettering on the reverse. The difference between an ordinary mint state coin and an exceptionally high-grade certified example can be substantial, which is why professional grading becomes increasingly important as the quality of a specimen improves. The market value of a 1988 P Washington Quarter is strongly determined by condition rather than by the date alone. Most circulated examples are generally worth around their face value, while attractive uncirculated coins may bring a modest premium. A typical uncirculated specimen can often trade for roughly $1 to $5, depending on quality and presentation, while better certified mint state examples can command $10 to $50 or more. Exceptionally high-grade coins that receive top numerical grades from a recognized grading service can bring considerably higher prices when collectors compete for them. In particularly impressive certified grades, values can potentially reach hundreds of dollars, but such prices apply to genuinely exceptional specimens rather than ordinary examples. Collectors should therefore avoid exaggerated claims suggesting that every 1988 P quarter is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The strongest premiums are normally associated with exceptional grade, attractive eye appeal, recognized varieties, or authenticated major mint errors. Another reason collectors examine the 1988 P quarter carefully is the possibility of legitimate mint errors and varieties. During the minting process, coins can occasionally experience striking or planchet abnormalities, and an authenticated major error can make an otherwise common date much more desirable. Collectors may watch for dramatic off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, missing design elements, or other unusual characteristics that clearly originated during production. Double die varieties are another area that attracts attention, although genuine double dies must be distinguished from ordinary machine doubling and post-mint damage. A strange-looking letter or number is not automatically proof of a valuable double die. Because the internet contains many exaggerated claims about supposed errors, experienced collectors compare examples carefully and seek professional attribution when necessary. A genuine and significant 1988 mint error can carry a meaningful premium, but its value depends on the type, severity, authenticity, and overall condition of the error. For collectors hoping to find a desirable 1988 Washington quarter, careful inspection is more valuable than simply searching for the date. Start by examining the coin under good lighting and using modest magnification to look for unusual doubling, striking abnormalities, strong original luster, or exceptionally clean surfaces. Avoid polishing or cleaning the coin, because artificial cleaning can permanently reduce its desirability among serious collectors. If the coin appears unusually sharp and well preserved, compare it with certified examples to understand what separates an ordinary mint state coin from a truly premium specimen. For potentially valuable errors, professional authentication is strongly recommended before assigning a high market value. When purchasing an expensive example, collectors should favor established dealers, reputable auction houses, and properly certified coins. Keeping records of purchase prices, grades, varieties, and auction results can also help collectors understand how the market changes over time. Proper preservation is equally important for anyone who wants the 1988 quarter to remain a rewarding part of a collection. Coins should ideally be stored in quality holders or archival materials that protect them from excessive moisture, contaminants, and unnecessary physical contact. Collectors should handle valuable specimens by their edges rather than touching the obverse or reverse surfaces, because fingerprints and oils can damage the appearance of a coin. It is also worthwhile to participate in established numismatic communities, coin clubs, and educational resources where collectors can compare discoveries and discuss grading standards, varieties, and market trends. The more experience a collector develops, the easier it becomes to distinguish a genuinely interesting mint-made feature from ordinary circulation damage. In this way, the 1988 quarter becomes more than a single coin. It becomes an opportunity to develop the observation and research skills that make numismatics such a fascinating hobby. In conclusion, the 1988 Washington quarter with the P Mint mark represents a compelling blend of American history, recognizable artistry, modern coinage technology, and collecting potential. It is not an extraordinarily rare coin in ordinary circulated condition, but that does not diminish its appeal. Its Philadelphia origin, classic Washington portrait, American eagle reverse, copper-nickel-clad composition, and connection to late 1980s America make it a tangible connection to the past. The greatest collector interest is concentrated in exceptional uncirculated examples, top certified grades, and authentic mint errors or varieties. For enthusiasts willing to examine their coins carefully, the 1988 quarter can be a rewarding discovery and a prized treasure within a broader Washington quarter collection. Its story demonstrates an important lesson in numismatics. Value does not always come from age alone, but from the combination of condition, rarity, historical context, craftsmanship, and collector demand. For that reason, the 1988 Washington quarter continues to captivate enthusiasts and remains a worthwhile piece for numismatists building a detailed collection of America's enduring quarter series. Next up, the 1987 Washington quarter dollar with the P Mint mark is a fascinating piece of American coinage that continues to captivate enthusiasts who enjoy discovering the history hidden within familiar pocket change. Produced at the Philadelphia Mint, this quarter belongs to the long-running Washington Quarter series and represents everyday American currency during the final years of the 1980s. Although the 1987 P issue is not considered a rare coin in ordinary circulated condition, it can become considerably more interesting when found with exceptional preservation, strong strike characteristics, attractive original luster, or a genuine minting error. Collectors are drawn to this issue because it combines the enduring portrait of George Washington with the unmistakable American eagle reverse, creating a tangible connection to the country's past. For the dedicated numismatist, the coin's greatest attraction is not an exaggerated promise of instant wealth, but the opportunity to locate a remarkably preserved example or an authenticated variety that stands apart from the millions of ordinary pieces produced for commerce. The historical context of the 1987 P Washington Quarter places it within an important period of modern American history. By 1987, the Washington Quarter had already been part of American life for more than half a century, having originally been introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The 1987 issue continued that tradition at a time when the United States was experiencing rapid technological development, changing consumer habits, and major cultural shifts. The quarter remained one of the nation's most frequently used denominations, moving through restaurants, stores, vending machines, banks, and countless daily transactions. The P Mint mark identifies Philadelphia as the production facility, while the coin itself preserves the image of Washington as a lasting national symbol. Holding a 1987 P quarter, therefore, offers collectors a tangible connection to the economic and cultural environment of late 1980s America. The design of the 1987 P Washington Quarter is one of the major reasons this coin remains so recognizable and collectible. On the obverse, George Washington faces left in the traditional portrait associated with the series, with Liberty, in God we Trust, and the date 1987 surrounding his image. The reverse features a majestic eagle with outstretched wings, accompanied by United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. The coin measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter, weighs approximately 5.67 grams, and has a reeded edge. Unlike the earlier silver Washington quarters, the 1987 P issue uses the standard copper-nickel clad composition over copper core that characterized circulating quarters of the period. In a well-preserved uncirculated example, the fields can display attractive original luster, while the raised design elements retain crisp definition, giving the coin considerably more visual appeal than a heavily circulated specimen. The P Mint mark provides an important identifying characteristic for collectors studying the 1987 issue. It appears on the obverse near the lower portion of Washington's portrait and confirms that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This is particularly useful for collectors assembling a complete date and mint mark collection of Washington quarters. The presence of the P should not, however, be interpreted as evidence that the coin is automatically rare. Millions of 1987 P quarters entered circulation, and normal examples remain obtainable today. Instead, collectors should examine the coin for characteristics that genuinely separate it from common examples. Strong strikes, exceptional luster, minimal contact marks, and authenticated varieties can all increase desirability. The distinction between an ordinary 1987 P quarter and a premium collectible is therefore primarily determined by condition, quality, and unusual mint-made characteristics, rather than simply by the existence of the P Mint mark. Rarity becomes much more interesting when condition enters the discussion. The 1987 P quarter was intended for everyday circulation, and many surviving examples were subjected to years of handling and contact with other coins. Scratches, abrasions, dull surfaces, stains, and bag marks are common, making pristine examples more difficult to locate. A truly attractive uncirculated specimen with brilliant original surfaces and excellent detail can therefore command more attention than a worn example. Collectors should closely inspect Washington's portrait, especially the cheek and open fields, as well as the eagle and lettering on the reverse. High-grade coins are often judged by very small differences in surface preservation, strike quality, and overall eye appeal. For this reason, certified examples in superior grades can be substantially more desirable than uncertified coins that merely appear uncirculated to the naked eye. The market value of the 1987 P Washington quarter is generally modest for ordinary examples, but can rise with exceptional condition or legitimate varieties. A circulated specimen will typically have little premium over its face value, while attractive uncirculated examples may bring approximately $1 to $5, depending on quality. Certified mint state coins can command roughly $5 to $30 or more, while exceptionally high-grade examples with strong eye appeal may reach $50 to $150 or higher in the appropriate market. Extremely high certified grades can sometimes bring several $100s when competing collectors pursue scarce top population coins, but these results should not be confused with the value of a normal circulated quarter. A genuine major mint error can also carry a much larger premium depending on its type and severity. The most reliable approach is to compare recent sales of coins with the same grade and characteristics rather than relying on sensational claims about ordinary 1987 quarters being worth thousands of dollars. Another fascinating aspect of the 1987 P quarter is the possibility of legitimate mint errors and varieties. Collectors may examine examples for clearly documented double design elements, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or other abnormalities created during the manufacturing process. A genuine major error can transform a common date into a much more desirable numismatic item. However, careful identification is essential because many unusual-looking coins are simply damaged after leaving the mint. Machine doubling, scratches, dents, environmental effects, and other forms of post-mint damage can easily be mistaken for valuable varieties. Collectors should therefore avoid automatically assigning a high value to every unusual-looking feature when a potentially significant error or double-die variety is discovered. Comparison with trusted references and professional authentication can provide much greater confidence. Authenticity, rarity, severity, and condition all play important roles in determining whether a variety deserves a substantial premium. For collectors searching for a valuable 1987 P Washington quarter, the best strategy is careful examination rather than assuming every example is a hidden fortune. Begin by looking for coins with strong original luster and minimal surface marks, especially around Washington's portrait and the broad fields of the obverse. On the reverse, inspect the eagle, lettering, and surrounding fields for unusual doubling or striking characteristics. Avoid cleaning, polishing, or chemically treating a promising coin, because these actions can permanently damage its surfaces and reduce its collector appeal. If an example appears exceptionally well preserved, professional grading can help establish its condition and provide protection for the coin. For a suspected major mint error, authentication is particularly important before purchasing or selling it for a significant amount. Collectors should also compare prices through reputable dealers and established auctions rather than relying on unsupported online valuation claims. Proper preservation can make a major difference in maintaining the long-term appeal of a 1987 P quarter. Valuable examples should be stored in protective holders made from suitable archival materials and kept away from excessive moisture, heat, and contaminants. Coins should always be handled carefully by their edges, since fingerprints and skin oils can affect the surfaces. Collectors can also benefit from joining coin clubs, attending shows, studying grading standards, and communicating with experienced numismatists. These activities provide valuable opportunities to learn how professionals distinguish genuine varieties from damage and how market prices differ according to grade. A collector who documents purchases, certification numbers, varieties, and comparable sales can develop a much clearer understanding of the market. Over time, this knowledge can be just as rewarding as the coins themselves, because it transforms simple pocket change searching into a disciplined numismatic pursuit. In conclusion, the 1987 Washington quarter dollar with the P Mint mark is a compelling example of how an ordinary-looking American coin can preserve an important piece of history, artistry, and collecting culture. Its Philadelphia origin, classic George Washington portrait, American eagle reverse, copper-nickel-clad composition, and connection to late 1980s America make it a tangible connection to the past. While a normal circulated 1987 P quarter is common and generally carries only a modest premium, exceptional uncirculated examples, superior certified grades, and genuine mint errors can become considerably more desirable. For collectors, the real excitement comes from learning to recognize those differences and discovering a coin that rises above the ordinary. Whether it becomes part of a complete Washington quarter collection or serves as an introduction to modern U.S. numismatics, the 1987 P issue remains a prized treasure for enthusiasts who appreciate the stories hidden in American coinage. Its combination of familiar design, historical context, and potential for exceptional condition ensures that it will continue captivating enthusiasts and numismatists for years to come.